I'm Paul French, Director of Southern Oregon Repertory Singers, and just 2 weeks ago were the terrible fires that swept through our region, and the first thing I want to say is our hearts go out to all those affected in sympathy and solidarity. And very ironically, the piece that had been chosen for this presentation you're about to hear was Jodi French's piece, The Stranger Among You, which is a piece that talks about community and pulling together and taking care of the other. And that's what we all need to do. We know that many people are really suffering and have enormous physical needs. We know that all of us are a bit fragile. It's been hard, and we hope that this recording will bring you some comfort and hope and beauty in the midst, because all of those things still exist. They're harder to find right now. Jodi would be here talking about this piece with me, so I don't want you to feel like I'm speaking for her, except she just drove to Minnesota and back to see her mother, and so she's tired. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about our work together on this piece and her compositional work, and then we're going to play you this beautiful piece. Jodi began composing for us a number of years ago. I take programming very seriously, those of you that know me, and choral concerts are rather complicated because there's usually 15 to 17 pieces, and you need to find contrast and threads, and you know, you change one piece and it changes lots of other little moving parts. And so there was a time when I didn't have one of the parts I needed, and I said to Jodi, will you write a piece that, I can't even remember what it was, but I said, will you fill this spot for us? And she did. And right from the beginning, people were just genuinely moved by her music. And I know that if you come to our concerts, you feel the same way, because the number of comments that I get, there's a directness, and it's not just sincerity, but there's a beauty to what she does that is very powerful. And one of the better things I've been able to do in my time is to encourage her to write more music for us and get her pieces out into the world. This particular one started its life as a piece that was written for the SOU Chamber Choir for the 2019 Jim Collier Oregon Arts Medallion. It was written for Betty LeDuc, who had a long history. She's a very wonderful artist, visual artist, and has a long history of social justice and social consciousness raising events. And so Jodi wanted to write something along those lines. The piece combines a traditional Scottish blessing, and we both are very much involved with Scottish folk music and Scottish blessings. This blessing, sometimes called the Rune of Hospitality, and it's a beautiful little blessing. And she combined that with some passages from the Old Testament and some statistics about the plight, really, of migrant workers. Boy, this is very timely, because a number of those people have lost their homes, as have many others in our region. And so it all came together, and we performed the piece. And on the First Light concert this last year, I asked if she would revise it and expand it a bit, which she did. She added the nickel harpa, with the funny looking instrument with the little short bow is nickel harpa. And Morgan O'Shaughnessy, who we have perform with us as often as we can, and Vicky Gunn, who's also, in addition to playing modern music, we've had her play in many of our Baroque period orchestras, a fantastic player. So Jodi added those parts and expanded the piece a bit. And of course, the showstopper is Michal Pasevich, who is just, he's an extraordinary player. You look at him and the music just pours out of him. I was talking to Martin Maikut about him, and he said he smiles when he plays because I think it even makes him happy to hear this beautiful sound. And he was really from the beginning. Jodi and Michal wanted to do a piece together, and I think he likes me okay, but he really likes Jodi. And when Jodi said, "Would you come and play on this piece?" he immediately said yes. Something that she does extraordinarily well is she writes for the performer. You know, I just mentioned Baroque music. That's what used to be how music was done. You didn't write something in the abstract. You were, Bach, when he was asked to talk about his life, he said, "I worked hard." I mean, his conception of himself was an artisan. He made music. Other people made chairs. You know, it was you wrote for specific people for specific events, and Jodi's very much like that. She writes a lot of music for Trinity Episcopal Church. Again, if there's not an anthem that I find that I like for that text, she'll just write one. And she writes for the soloists that are there and writes what's good for their voices, down to the point where she'll put the vowel that's best for a certain type of singer, like a tenor. An E vowel is actually a good word to have, an E when you sing up high, and she'll make sure that that happens. You know, all these things are, I mean, it's amazing. So performers like to do her music because she knows how to write for them so that they're at their best. So when you hear Michal play in a moment, know that that was written for him and his sound. And because his sound is so beautiful, she made it quite simple. The vocal writing too, I use the word direct. There's a directness that goes right to you in Jodi's music. This is actually easier for me to say all of this when she's not here because it would embarrass her. But it's a real gift. We are so fortunate to have her writing for repertory singers. She knows the group, obviously, and what they sound good on. And again, she has this great feel for making a connection from her music to the listener. And you can tell that she wants you to like her music. When I was talking with Eschenwalds a couple weeks ago, I said the same thing to him, that some composers, it just feels a bit distant. And with her, it never does. It's direct. So this piece then was redone for the latest First Light concert, and we added in the nickel harpas because those players were there, and that's her Scottish blood, I think, coming out through me. They were there. We're going to use them on everything. So she wrote these parts for them. I think it's a beautiful, healing piece, and so apropos for what we've all been going through. This is a time, as a community, we need to be kind to one another. We need to understand that a lot of people are feeling overwhelmed and fragile. And if there was ever a time to reach out and help our neighbors, this would be that time. So I know that you're going to enjoy hearing the piece, and I hope you enjoyed hearing a little bit about Jodi's compositional background. And I'm thrilled to be able to offer this piece to you, especially in this moment.